Hello guys, this video going to be about two of my favorite cameras, Sony versus Canon. So if you click on this video, you're probably debating on which one to buy, or maybe you heard a lot of good stuff about Canon G7X Mark II, Mark III, because it got super viral. Since I have both of them, I decided to record this video. Sony I was using for 3 years, and Canon I've been using for 5 years. Then I sold it and I bought Sony, and then I bought it back. And then also at the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you where did I get this Canon, because it's really hard to get, sold out everywhere. I was very desperate. I was even thinking about buying a used one, but even used one was really expensive, way pricier than the original price. So I'm gonna tell you how eventually I got this camera back. So first of all, yeah, you can see those cameras, two babies, two small cameras. Canon a little bit heavier than Sony. The dimensions are almost the same. The Sony is actually 2 millimeters wider than Canon, like that. Like thickness, the Sony would be a little thicker. It was important for me because I got a little camera bag for my Canon when I was using Canon, and then when I sold it and I bought Sony, I couldn't use the same tiny little safety camera bag for Sony because Sony was too big. The reason I sold Canon is because I actually was looking for the blurred background effect, which brings me to the second point. I learned from the internet that the Sony ZV-1 has this effect. It even has this button, like right here, I think. It's like a special mode, immediately blurred out the background if you're recording yourself, which Canon doesn't have. Though if you zoom in on any camera, doesn't matter which one, you will eventually get this blurred background effect. But if you're looking for this blurred effect, Sony is really cool. Obviously, I fell in love with the white color of Sony because not that many cameras selling in any different color than black, but when I saw that Sony offers white color, I'm like, oh my god, I need this. It's so cool. It looks so different. Immediately after I got it, it's some stains on it, some smears, some scratches a little bit, even though I was really careful. I'm like really careful person. Before Sony, I was using the same exact Canon. It had no scratches, no nothing. Like the viewfinder was great, the body of the camera looked great, even though I actually dropped this camera a few times versus Sony. It's honestly given me this plasticky look, and first when I unboxed it and I got it, I was a little bit surprised because it looked a little cheaper. It was a little pricier than the Canon, but the feel I got from this camera, that this camera is a little bit, I don't know, cheaper. Canon camera gives me more expensive vibe or more professional vibe. The body of the camera is like really smooth and sleek, and it has this leather, fox leather something, because I think it makes it less slippery, so if you hold it, you can't accidentally drop it. And on the other side for your thumb, it's the same situation, so you can see this leather, and it gives you like a better grip, like when you hold it like that. Another difference about them too is the viewfinder. Sony has it on the side. You can turn it around like that, and when you open it, when you flip it out, it's immediately turn it on. And if you flip it back, it's gonna turn camera off, which is kind of cool, because with the Canon, it's not gonna happen. Like you can flip it and the Canon will still be off until you turn it on. In terms of the viewfinder, I kind of like Canon better because this is on top of the camera versus this is on the side. And I've been using Canon for like so many years before I bought Sony, so it was very weird for me to look on the side when I like want to glance at myself. And when it's on top of the lens, I feel like when you look at the lens, it's much easier to look up and look back to the lens without people noticing that you like going back and forth, versus the Sony, if you look to the side, you have to go back to the lens to actually like look like you're talking to the camera. For me, I kind of like Canon better. Another like a super important difference for me, on and off button, because when I turn it on, sometimes it takes like a second or two when it turns on. The Canon, on the other hand, does it immediately, and when I turn it off, it goes immediately back. When I turn off Sony, it takes like a whole 30 minutes to go back. First I thought something is wrong with my camera. I even Googled it. I emailed them. I'm like, is it something wrong with the Sony? But then I went to Reddit and a lot of people was complaining about the speed of this button on and off, and turns out that this is just normal for Sony. For me, it's a huge deal, honestly. That's why I usually don't take it to the trips anymore. I usually vlog on my iPhone because the quality is good still, and I just only keep it for my home when I don't need to rush. Because when I was taking Canon with me, it was so much easier for me. First of all, it was a little smaller, like narrow than Sony, as I mentioned, and I would keep it in like my jacket, for example, if walking around, and then I pull it up immediately. And if I see something, especially time sensitive, and I want to capture that moment, I turn it on immediately and I start shooting immediately. The other problem I have, the record button. When I press record, sometimes it doesn't record immediately. I have to press it again, and after I press it again, it actually did start record, and since I press it twice, it stopped recording. So I'm wasting my time again, especially if there is something going on. Things like that never happen to Canon, because when you press record button, it starts recording immediately. Like everything with Canon is just immediate. It's like super nice. You vlog and you run around somewhere. In this scenario, I like much more Canon. Well, the reason I sold my Canon is that I wanted a new camera. I thought there is something better out there than Canon. That was my mistake. Back then, 3 years ago, when I sold the Canon, this flash effect for Instagram pictures wasn't that popular. The whole 5 years me using this camera for vlogging, I never did a single picture with a flash. I'm going to put on the screen all the pictures I have from Sony and from the Canon. So maybe it's gonna be like a slideshow side by side, so you can see the difference. Both of the pictures going to be raw, no editing, no filters, no nothing, no desert filters, no Instagram filters, no. Just as it was shot. So I've noticed when I got Sony that the colors was way different than colors on iPhone, or even colors on my Canon Mark IV, which I used a lot as a photographer. And when I see the raw pictures taken on my Canon, I always need to color correct them because I was using RAW. And the thing that I've noticed right away about the Sony pictures, that the color palette is so different than my Canon, than this Canon. Apparently, the Sony did the whole research on the pictures, and they test all the different colors on different people to see what the user like more, what type of color user find friendly and nice and more flattering. So apparently they came up with this color palette where the user like the colors better. But the thing that make this camera go viral, it's obviously the flash, which Sony doesn't have. Amazing film effect that gives you when you're using the flash, it's just unbeatable. I like this so much, I just stop editing pictures at all. If I take pictures with the flash, which I do all the time since I got this camera, I just immediately fell in love with all of them. I just think they're so gorgeous and stunning. I don't even know how to explain this. I just like them immediately. Doesn't matter how I look, I feel like it just looks so much better. So it's definitely worth the hype in my opinion. So if you're planning on taking pictures and you debating between them two, well, I have to tell you, like, this is unbeatable. First of all, the screen is touch screen. If you lose your focus, you can press and it's immediately go back. When you go to the menu, you can touch the screen like you touch on your iPhone. It's like just so cool. The menu is really user-friendly, it's very easy, and I just like it a lot. The Sony menu, on the other hand, look a little different. Again, it gave me that vibe like this camera is mostly for kids, because the menu itself looks a little bit like, I don't know, just outdated. Navigate the menu, it doesn't work as a touchscreen at all. Actually, Sony has a lot of good stuff as well. For example, the main difference between Sony and Canon, that you can attach external microphone to Sony when Canon doesn't have it, Mark II. Mark III, I know they have. That was also another important thing. So the blur effect, the external microphone, that's what made me buy it. Yeah, and ever since I got it, I was using all sorts of different external microphones, and it was great. Honestly, I enjoyed it a lot. So that's why I'm probably gonna keep my Sony. When you record on both of them, I'm gonna show you side by side a little later, the Sony kind of crops the video. So right after I got Sony, I had to buy a wide lens right away. So this is the wide lens. When you vlog without any like tripod or anything, it crops the frame like by a lot. So your face is basically right next to the camera, which is not really flattering. So basically you screw, this is how it's attached, and then you take the lid off, and then here you go, you have your wide lens. So yeah, and when I record, the same thing with the Canon, it doesn't crop it. When you turn stabilization on, obviously the angle got a little smaller, but with Sony it's like cropped by a lot. With Canon it's a little bit wider. On the other hand, stabilization, I would say both of them has great stabilization, with this only difference of cropping the frame. Another quick thing I want to mention, maybe it's not that important, but battery life is a little longer with a Canon. That's what I noticed whenever I was recording with Sony. I was recording a video from my house like that, like just a talking video. It was really long. When you're actually sitting in front of the camera and recording for like a long time, maybe 20-30 minutes, your battery dies, you like notice right away. And that's again what I was noticing after using Canon. Canon battery life was a little longer. Maybe just me, maybe it's not true at all. So I googled it just to make sure what I'm telling is true, and yeah, I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told me that it's almost the same, but Canon battery life does work a little bit longer. Another thing is the battery charger. The battery charger for Sony is a little bulkier than for Canon. What is going on? But like everything is just a little bit bigger, bulkier, less convenient with the Sony, in my opinion, and I'm all about convenience. Yes, the quality of video and pictures really important, and like we're not shooting a music video here, we're just shooting a vlog. So for all girlies and everyone who's just wanna do the vlogging without any extra problems, I think, you know, just having a just good enough camera it's really good. The thing for me, actually nobody talks about, is the upload situation. I had to buy like external wire to put the memory card inside to be able to transfer all the pictures my Sony to the iPhone. I know that there is an app for this. For me it didn't work for some reason. Canon, you can just hit this button and there's another Canon app which I find very user-friendly and easy to use. So for me, I don't use any wires or any other tools to transfer pictures, and it's so quick, it's so easy to use. If you don't want to like upload them to your computer and then you want to upload them directly to your phone, you can do it with Canon. With the Sony, even when I was using this specific tool with like a wire and everything for the memory card, I could only upload directly to my phone pictures. I couldn't do the video. With Canon you can do both. So the thing I had to learn is that Sony creates a separate folder where you can find those clips. That's why in the beginning, when I insert my memory card to my laptop, and I was like, okay, where is my videos? Because usually with this Mark IV or this camera, if you insert the memory card, you just see everything as it was taken. So if it was today, so you will see by the date. It was pictures, then there was video, then was pictures again. And you can just easily find your video if you're looking for this one specific video. With Sony, pictures goes to separate folder, video goes to separate folder, and it's not just separate folder, it's like folder under the folder under the folder, so you actually have to look for this. Plus, I think you can record only up to 15 minutes on Sony, versus on Canon you can just record wherever until your battery dies. 15 minutes also not nice, because I actually faced the situation when I forgot to look at this red light, which tells you that the camera recording, and the recording was stopped after 15 minutes and I didn't notice. I've noticed like 5 minutes later, thanks God it was like not too long, but still I was like, okay, nice, it's not recording. Why did it turn off? I didn't do anything. It just turned on. And the last but not least, what I want to tell about Canon is the portrait mode. I actually didn't know about this at first, when first year of me having this camera, because I've never actually taken pictures, but apparently there is like a portrait mode, different portrait modes, where you can like choose what type of shoot is going on right now. If it's a dark night or you're shooting stars, there's like a mode for that apparently. If you want this blurred kind of like effect, you know, on Instagram, sometimes people make it blurry on purpose. So there is a mode for that. You can literally just take a picture and it's gonna be like all this like kind of gloomy, blurry effect. And there's like several of them where you can get this effect. It gives you that vintage film camera effect, which you can find on this Tessa app. She does that a lot. All her settings, gorgeous, I like them. But they literally already inside of this camera, and there is a lot more of them. It also has like a fisheye, not like you need it, but I was so surprised how many different portrait mode this has. It's like so amazing. So I'm like playing around with this like a lot right now. Actually, another thing I totally forgot to mention, which is also very important, is that I have those two memory cards, SanDisk. They both really good. One of them Extreme Pro and another one Ultra Plus. So basically, I only use Extreme Pro for my Canon Mark IV for photography, because that allows me to take pictures way faster. It's process the picture way faster than this one. For the video and for vlogging, it doesn't really matter. So you can use both of them, but it turns out when I sold my camera and I tried to use this memory card for the Sony ZV-1, Sony wouldn't read this card. I had no idea why. So I had to Google. First I thought maybe it's just because it was really old, flash. I thought maybe that's the reason, maybe this memory card doesn't work anymore. But now when I got my Canon back, I was like so curious and like, let me see if it's gonna read it. And guess what? Canon read this memory card. So I'm just keep using it. So they both side by side right now. And yeah, I'm recording on both of them. That's amazing. And as you can tell, probably the Canon is a little wider than the Sony. That's what it is. Sony doesn't have this lens, wide angle lens right now. They're both on the same table next to each other, but you can probably see that I'm a little bit closer to the Sony versus to the Canon. Right? I can't tell anything about the color right now because the screen on Sony is a little bit dimmed, looks like, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna see it on the big screen later. I'm gonna test the internal microphone as well right now. Let's see first on Sony. This is how Sony sound when I'm talking, like on the length of my hand. So let's say if I'm like holding the Sony away from me and I'm vlogging, this is how I'm gonna sound like. Let's see the Canon. So the same length from the camera. So if I'm talking to my Canon right now, I'm holding it and I'm vlogging, I'm walking around, I'm just talking to the Canon. This is how I'm gonna sound like without any external microphones. I don't know. I'm actually curious myself. How's it gonna sound? Same thing. So yeah, that's the idea. Let's do the focus part. So I have this lighter, candle lighter. Okay, let's test it on Sony. Woo! Sony, come on. Canon. Canon. I can tell that you're focusing on it, but oh, it's looking at my face. It's too thin. Well, okay. Sony doing a little better job. So Sony focuses on this immediately. That's me. And this. I mean, yeah, it depends on the object, but I feel like Sony doing a better job than Canon. Okay. Yeah. Also, Sony, I forgot to mention, Sony has this macro effect, which you can tell. Okay, how about the hand? You see, this is Canon, this is Sony. Sony is doing it right away, obviously. Canon, pretty much too, actually. So if it's a big object, not like thin as a lighter, it's doing a pretty good job, it's not bad. To me, it's pretty good. It's not like a deal breaker. Okay, Canon, come on. It's like a few seconds. So yeah, it's not bad. Again, I'm going away and I'm back. Both of the cameras focus on me immediately. So if I'm shooting something behind me and then I'm going back to the frame, there is nothing I need to adjust. I need to like press on the screen, telling Canon or Sony what to do, that I'm here, please record me. They both doing great. Yeah, we just did a little test. I think both of them great. It doesn't really matter. If you're not gonna shoot pictures and you don't wanna use this flash, I think you can get any of them. If you prefer color palette that comes with the Sony, so I guess Sony would be the best for you, or if you like the beauty filter or the bokeh effect, again, I think Sony would be great for you. In terms of focus, both of them great. Like the fact that the Sony focused much faster on these tiny objects, it's not a deal breaker for me because I can't even imagine what I would show Sony to focus, unless you're doing the like unboxing. But again, if the object is pretty big and it's not like a tiny little needle, I think Canon can do just fine with this as well. Yeah, that's my honest opinion on both of them. Where did I got my Canon? Well, the first time in 2018, I got it on Amazon. Later, I got Sony on Amazon as well. Now, months ago, I got my Canon from H&B store, which was really rare and unusual. I tried to find it online, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. I tried to find it obviously on Canon website. I even asked my friends who lives in Europe, who lives in Japan and anywhere to possibly find it for me and ship it to me, but it just sold out everywhere. Obviously can see it on Amazon for $1,500 or $1,300, which is way pricier than the original price. The original price I got it for, it was $690 that I got it right now from H&B store. So basically what I was doing, I opened my map. I live in New York City, if you don't know. It's probably also important because I was just opening my map, the Manhattan and Brooklyn map, and I was just going through all the camera stores, and I was just calling each store to see if they have it in stock. So everybody was telling me that the next shipment going to be end of September, which was like a month ago, so like 3 months away. But it was just telling me, we don't know, we don't have it anymore. You can obviously pre-order, but there is no guarantee. And finally, I called the H&B store, which is a huge store facility on Manhattan I didn't know existed in Midtown, and they told me that they actually have it. Even online it didn't say anything about being in stock, but the person on the phone told me that, oh yeah, we have one, we actually got it this morning, guys. And I was like, okay, I'm buying it now. So I gave him literally on my phone, I gave him my credit card details. And yeah, I booked it, I purchased it right away. He told me, okay, you can pick it up tomorrow. We're gonna process your order and you can pick it up tomorrow. And the next day, we just went there, we got it. I couldn't believe it until the last moment, until I hold my camera, I could not believe that they actually have it. And immediately after, it was again sold out. It was sold out online. What you can do, just call every store possible, local stores, or if not, call H&B store, maybe here even in New York. Even if you don't live in New York, maybe they can ship it to you, because the difference between just going through their website is that their website wasn't up to date when I called them, and I was able to actually buy it, purchase and book this camera. So if you're just gonna wait until they update the website, somebody might be already calling and purchasing like I did. So by the time they're gonna be updating the site, it's gonna be already sold out.